Right, we're going on a little collection mission today. Got the 108 out here with the quad axle Drake on. Gonna move a digger to Melbourne and pick something up on the way back. It's a little bit out of my way, but we'll pick it up on the way back. It's pretty cool, I'm pretty excited about it. It's not a truck, not a Kenworth, so something a little bit different that I'll be able to use to make some money instead of the trucks, which are just a money pit most of the time. But we'll jump in the 108 and get going. I'll do a little bit of a ride along in it, and yeah, it doesn't sound too bad. It's got some sporties on it, just got 5-inch stacks, so she's not too loud, but it's overall pretty nice truck to drive. Pretty basic in here, 18 speed, airbag, rear end. The Drake's on hydraulic suspension. So yeah, I think it's 97 ton rated, something like that. But I'll set you up and we'll do some driving, I reckon. On the back, 22 ton Hyundai, and now we're going to go take that to Melbourne, so that'll get us into Melbourne. We will unload that one off and then keep heading out past Melbourne to pick up this other machine and bring it back to the yard. So not a bad little Sunday mission. Should be good. Right, we're smack bang in the middle of the road, holding up traffic and everything, but the machine's going to come around the corner up there and drive up the float, hopefully it gets that far. I can't get up to where it lives with the float. There's a couple of tight bends that I wouldn't be able to get around, so that's the plan. It's got no brakes, so we're kind of at the bottom of a bit of a slight incline, so hopefully it levels out about here, and hopefully when it comes up the ramps the trailer's pretty level, so it doesn't roll off the front of the trailer. But that's the plan. I'll roll the camera when we're ready to go. I think I hear it. Sounds like a dinosaur. Hopefully he makes the corner. There she is. Look at it. How good's that? I'll sit you guys up here somewhere. Well, she's all loaded up. She's a big little scraper. Got a few parts and pieces in the bowl. Got cutting edges behind the front wheel there. There's a spare apron in the bowl and a front cut that's got a few valves and stuff on it. Got 4 chains on the front and we've got 4 chains on the rear. So we're not looking too bad. Yeah. So we're just about to get on the way. We're about 3-2-3. We're 3-1 with the deck, and we got 100 mil or so overhang both sides. So we're probably about 3-3, something like that, I'd say. But yeah, we're pretty much good to go, I reckon. So we'll get in the truck and we'll get on the way. I'm pretty excited to work on it. I'll get up and shut that door. Yeah, we'll get it back to the shed and have a good look over it because it's going to be dark soon. Alrighty, we're on a roll. Got a bumpy road, but we're on a roll. So, we're looking good. I think, yeah, we're sitting at about 4.6 metres to the top of the cab. Got to go back through the tunnel. Pretty sure the height clearance on that is 4.65 metres. So hopefully we've got 50 mil to spare. But yeah, get up it and get back home so we can unload. I reckon. I'll roll the video for a little bit and then once we're back on the highway, which isn't that far away, and I need a GPS too, we'll cut it off until I unload, but it's probably going to be fairly dark when I unload, I reckon, so see how we go. Alrighty, we are in the tunnel. I always get nervous coming through here that the height device is going to ping me with a machine on the back, but we're alright this time, so that's good. Haven't been done by it yet, and I don't want to do. So yeah, we're on a roll, cruising along nicely. Try not to get the concrete wall of the tunnel a scrape with the draft arms. So I'm excited to get work on this. Obviously I'm still ticking away at the SAR. There hasn't been a video for a while, but yeah, I've just had some work. We've got some machines out on hire, cleaning the dams out and stuff, so we've had a few breakdowns, so I've been trying to keep all that running as well. But yeah, the SAR, it's coming along. I haven't really had many days to work on it, just been a few hours here and there, which haven't really equated to anything drastic being achieved, but it all adds up. And yeah, it's just how it is. I've got to go out, do work to earn some money to sink into these trucks, but this scraper will be a fixer-upper and send the work hopefully. Won't work every day, but we've had a few jobs in the past where it would have been handy. So Alrighty, so it got real dark real quick the other night when I got home. It was a Sunday night and I had to get it unloaded in the dark with no brakes, so that was exciting. Wake up all the neighbours. But anyway, I got it off. I didn't roll it off the side. I just dropped the bowl when I needed to. So for a scraper, it's not a bad size. Like me standing here, it's a reasonable sized machine. It's not as big as a TS24 obviously, but yeah, it's still decent size. So this is a Terex TS14B. TS is twin power, twin engine scraper, something like that, because an S is just a single power and a T is a twin power. And of course it has Detroits in it. So we've got a 471 Detroit in the front and a 471 in the rear. I think they're about 160 horsepower each. I'll show you it running again soon. We've got decent tyres on it. It's had a few repairs, a bit of a dodgy paint job at some point. We've got a bit of crap to cut off. Unlike a Cat, the draft arms mount right down the bottom. The Cat would be up here kind of sort of thing. So being down so low, obviously you're pretty much always dragging the draft arms on the ground, so that's why they're worn on an angle and someone's welded this snot on it to try and stop that wear. So we'll tidy that up a bit. Got a second-hand apron in here that's broken one of the apron arms off, that side one. Another front half that's got a control valve and a hydraulic or fuel tank, whatever that is, on it. A couple of good bits and pieces. We've got good tyres on the rear, twin 6-speed auto Allison transmissions. Here's the 471 in the rear. I haven't heard this run yet. They've just been dragging it round on the front, which isn't great for the rear because you should pull sun gear out of the axles there so it freewheels or pull the tail shaft out, but they haven't done that, so we'll see if it needs a transmission rebuild in the rear. You got this big roller welded on to keep the blade away from the tyres and keep away from the radiator and everything. So that's so we can push up the back of it with the D65 Komatsu. The D8 would be better, but the D65 will do. So this one's done a water pump, which should live in here. It drives off the blower and moves water around, obviously. So I've got a new one of those. What day is it today? Thursday. So I got this home Sunday. I didn't get a chance to order parts until yesterday, which is Wednesday, and I managed to get a 471 water pump next day. So how's that for service? If anyone needs any bits, cutting edges in Melbourne, they had one on the shelf, so you can't complain with that. So I think we got good oil in here. Doesn't look like there's any water in there. And transmission oil in the rear isn't showing up on the dipstick, so not sure if it's got any in it. I think this is about 16 metre bowl heaped, I'd say. I think was what the specs was. So 14, I think it's 14 yard bowl water level, and I think you can get 16 metres in it with it heaped up. We might put some hungry boards on the side, and then we'll definitely get some dirt in it. Here's the shifter. It's air shifter, so being that there's two transmissions, each line is just teed into the rear, so there's this exact same setup on the rear transmission that has the same air lines going to it, and when one of these gets air, the same thing happens on the rear, it gets air. So that's how they do that, and then you got to sync them, make sure that they're adjusted, adjust the clevises the same. You should be able to turn this bolt, this pin in every gear. If you can't, it means transmission could be halfway in or out of gear. The brakes aren't hooked up on it, it's missing the foot valve, so I'm going to try and get the brakes working again. They're full air brakes with S-cams and boosters, so I should be able to get them to go again. These are different to a Cat. The rear section of the floor, I'll show you when it's running, but the rear section of the floor here, that actually rolls up all the way around like that. Instead of a floor on a Cat would slide back down there, it's almost mirrors what the apron does at the front. That cable pulls the apron up, and the rear gets pulled up as well, but by this big cylinder down in there on an arm that's pivoted down the bottom. So when that sucks in, or I'm not sure if it sucks in or pushes out, but it rolls that whole rear wall up. We've got to fix that. Chisel is a retaining pin, that's not going to fly. Needs some cab work, but I'll see if I can get up here. Have to put you down for a sec. Oh. So she needs some cab work, a couple of blown out windows. That one come out on the way. I think there's part of it, but yeah, she's pretty basic in here. You've got 2 accelerators, and then you're meant to have a foot valve in that hole there. We need some gauge work going on, but that's your shifter, that leaks air. I've got to reseal that. And your 3 levers for bowl up and down, apron up and down, and open and close the floor. If anyone knows where the serial number would be stamped on this, I'd appreciate it. I've got to reseal this steering valve, so it just goes into a box, and that's just like a normal spool valve that just goes in and out. So instead of an orbital valve, you only turn the steering wheel like a quarter of a turn each way, and it's almost like having a lever to steer. Just gives you steering wheel to hang on to. So what I'm going to do is bring the water pump out here. I could just drag it over to the shed, but I don't want to drag it around any more than I need to on just the front engine. And I actually go to New Zealand on Monday, so I'm going to do a little tour of New Zealand, starting in the north and going to the south. And in the South Island over Easter, Wheels at Wanaka is on, and I'm going to go there, and I should be able to see a fair few of these things in action and some other big gear. I've never been before, so I'm really excited. So that'll be an excellent show. I'm sure I'll see some of you guys there. I know a few of you New Zealanders like to watch, so it'd be great to see some people out and about, and it should be a good show. I'm really keen for it. So that'll get me motivated for this on the way back. So I bought this more of a work thing than a toy thing. Obviously I do a bit of earth moving, so just more of on a small scale, but I like to have a bit of everything, and I don't have a scraper, so I thought it was time, and I can do a bit of a repair series along the way, because 2 471s in something that moves dirt is pretty cool, I reckon. So take you guys along for the ride. Obviously I'm still doing the SAR, and now everyone wants to see the SAR. I'm just sort of stuck on a few things that are really time consuming. Just doing some fab work and stuff for radiator mounts and all that, tidying up a lot of dodgy repairs it's had over the years. So I will definitely get that done. So yeah, it's still happening, but I'm still working on videos. It's just taken me a long time to get some footage worthwhile watching, because there's a few things that I've spent days on and it doesn't really look like I've spent days on it. So as soon as I'm back from New Zealand, I'll be back into that full swing, hopefully. That's the plan anyway, but just got to juggle work time and play time. So anyway, I'm going to bring this water pump out and we'll see if we can't get it fitted up to here. I don't think it'll be too bad, so we'll see how we go. So here's the new water pump. This is brand spanker. I think it was $300. And a seal kit for this was like 180 or 200 or something. So it's definitely worth just getting a new one. This has to bolt on here. I'm not sure which orientation, but I'll figure that out. And I'm not sure where that goes, and it's a bit damaged, but I'll be able to sort that out. So I'll go find out how that goes, and then I'll put the new gasket on. I didn't realise it come with new gaskets, so I ordered a whole gasket kit, but it even comes with new gaskets and O-rings and some bolts. So that's a bonus. I'll go figure out where this goes, and should be good. So I've just come over here. The water pump goes that direction, that goes into the block. This gets driven directly off the blower in that hole there. This goes down into the oil cooler with that port there, so that goes down to where that orange plug is. The 2 bolt flange on top goes up there, but to get this water pump in there, I'm going to have to pull the oil filter housing off, which I'd say they've already had that off. It looks a bit damp down there. The good news is I bought a gasket kit because I didn't think it'd come with one. I might have already said that, but anyway, that's the plan. So I'll go get some tools and get this gasket kit off. I'll get this oil filter housing off, and we'll go from there. I may even, because no room up at the shed, so I'll just do it down here. I was going to drive it up there, but by the time I start it and build up air and drive it there, the day will be over. So I'm going to get some tools and get that off. Right, so I've got the water pump here, I've got the gasket there, that will go into the blower. This goes into the block, you've got an O-ring there, and this aluminium plate squishes it against the block there. I've cleaned up the housing, put a bit of silicone, gasket silicone on there. I don't use much, but on this old stuff, the surfaces are never flat, so I've learnt my lesson to always put a bit on the on the old surfaces, like on the new pump there, like that. It's probably going to be okay because it's brand new, it's flat. But yeah, on the old surfaces, always put a bit. So it makes it much easier. I'll clean up around this. That has a little rubber ring seal, just sort of like half a hose with a ridge in the middle to stop it from moving, and a clamp around the whole thing. The gasket kit may have a new one of those, but I'll probably reuse that because it's still nice and soft. I'll just clean it up a bit and that should be all right, but I'll give it a sand so that it's nice and clean. Okay, it's gotten dark now, somehow. It's really blown out. So what I've had to do is, obviously this water pump is China special or something, because it doesn't quite fit properly, which is annoying. So what I've done is I've had to do a bit of die grinding in here. This goes over that with the O-ring on there, and then seats up against the block there. But it's not quite the right angle, so I can't get these 2 bolt holes in. I can get one, but not the other. So I've done a bit of sanding there, and I'm getting closer. So this is about the 85th try, and hopefully this is it. Well, it's the next day. I messed with it till 10 o'clock last night, and I just could not get it to seal on that block surface there. So what I've come up with is that this spout here was a tad too long. It hadn't been cleaned up after being casted, so it wasn't allowing the water pump to sort of connect flush with the block. I'll just see if I can get this in with one hand, and I'll sort of give you a bit of a demo. So this is an FP water pump. So if anyone has trouble with a 71 series FP water pump, so it was sitting like that, like this here didn't quite line up, and you could see a gap right in there. I don't know if you can see that hole in the block just up in here, there, and I just couldn't get it to line up properly. So what I did was grind some off on the sander off back there, and that allows me to turn that to line that up, and that also squares that up there too. I had to slot the holes a little bit in the mounting flange because they were too neat and it wouldn't allow it to spin. So I think I'm getting closer to where I need to be. Now I just gotta try and put it back together again and see how we go, but it's looking a lot better. I also broke the little flange, it cracked through there, so I've had to put a hose clamp around it. I'll get a new one of these one day, but I think it'll still do the job because the O-ring still seats in there. And with my research, I found out there's three different sorts of these, and there's 2 different thickness O-rings. So if you have the new flange, use the thin O-ring, and if you have the old flange, you use the thick O-ring. And then there's high volume and low volume water pumps. This is low volume. I think it was just the turbo models that had the high volume. So yeah, that's the situation. And gasket kit, you get a whole gasket kit. It doesn't come with these seal rings. It's just like a bit of radiator hose with a step in the middle. This has got some cracks on the edges, but it's not too bad, so I'm going to try and reuse it, and I'll order another one, and then one day I can change this and put a new one of those on. But I go to New Zealand in a couple of days, so I just want to get it on and see if this back engine runs. So I'll try and get it back together now, and then I'll show you again if I get it back together. Okay, so I've got that sitting on there, and now you can see that's a lot more in line. And it's looking a lot better. These bolts are lining up down there. You can sort of see it's sort of an even gap around that spout. So I'm pretty positive about this. It's a lot better than I had yesterday. So I'll roll the time lapse again, and we'll hopefully put some water in it this time. And it literally hosed out before, so hopefully it doesn't leak at all this time. Okay, I finally got the water pump on, and it's got some water in it. We're not leaking down there, and we're not leaking there. So if anyone has one of these FP water pumps down a 71 series and you can't get it to fit, sand down the end of that and slot these holes and clock it upwards, like spout up, and make sure before you fit it that everything is lining up. This flange back here, the O-ring, everything, and make sure these holes aren't stripped, because I stuck it on again and I had to helicoil this bottom hole, and that top one is a bit average too, so it was a pain, but I got it. It's got water in it. Now I just got to put battery in it, fuel in it. Dad just top transmission oil up, and we're going to pull the rocker cover off and check that the injectors aren't stuck. If I can get the spanner out. Yes, we need fuel. So I'll get this rocker cover off, and then and then we'll check them out, make sure none are seized, because this back motor probably hasn't been running for 3 years or something like that. So, and I'm glad that water pump finally sorted out. That took me a solid day, I reckon. Alrighty, so underneath the rocker cover looks really tidy. All the injectors move freely, which I was surprised, so that was easy. I'll just bolt the rocker cover straight back on. Okay, I just checked all the injectors. The rack was all free, turned nicely, moved nicely I mean. So just put these bolts back in. It's got hardly any fuel in it, so put some fuel in it. I'll put a battery in it. I've got one down there in the loader bucket, the service loader. And we can see what it's going to do. Hopefully it runs, and then we'll be able to see if the transmissions actually shift and if anything was damaged in the process of being driven on the front motor and not the rear. So should be good. Already got smoke coming out the exhaust.
It's going to start straight up. I wonder if it's in neutral.
It should be. I should be able to stop it here, hopefully. It'd be nice if that worked, it goes. Bit of cranking over. Doesn't sound too bad. Little bit knocky, maybe because it's cold. Got a bit of pressure coming out the airbox drain. Do you want to check the transmission oil again now it's running? Just have a look. Well, there you go, the Terex TS14B. Both engines run. The transmissions seem to engage. They need adjustment, but they engage, so I'll sync them up. Make sure that we're not gonna fry a transmission, because then I'll have to fix it. First gear seems to be a little bit hard to grab, but it's leaking that much air that it's sort of not, I reckon it seems to be leaking air out of the draft arm here, so I reckon one of the airlines has a pinhole in it for first gear. But yeah, I'm impressed. I'm starting to like this green stuff. It's no good, because now I've got 3 things that are green. So I like the big stack. We need one on the back. So it runs really well. I'm very happy with it so far. Oh. So that's one job off the list. We've got to do that steering valve next, probably, because it's leaking pretty bad. Just leaking out of there on the ground. But really, other than that, that's about the worst oil leak on it. So it's not terrible. I think it'll be a good thing. Take a battery, oh yeah, better take a battery lead off, but I did it up too tight. I'll take them off. So yeah, there you go. That's the Terex. So after I get back from New Zealand, I'll have heaps of enthusiasm to do it, and heaps of enthusiasm for the SAR. So I'm getting excited to get back onto that. Like I said, I've still been working on it, but just things I've been doing have been taking days and not really much to show for it. Just like radiator mounts, modifying and all that sort of stuff to fit in intercooler. So yeah, we'll get there and get stuck in it when I get back. So anyway, this is the end of this one. So yeah, next video will be in New Zealand at Wanaka probably. So it should be good. We'll catch you on the next one. Cheers.